My name is Maryam Flory, and I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor. I currently am the vice president of the art room, and I really enjoy volunteering there. And for my career, I have a private practice called Tulip Therapy, and I also work for a company called Marathon Health, where we provide employees of big companies, including cities, mental health and medical services. I just love the concept because it hit two of my main passion points, which are providing access to mental health services for people, as well as making art more accessible to people. You know, it was kind of a journey. I didn't immediately land on it, so I tried quite a few different degree plans. And it really came about after I took a job at a rehabilitation center. And I found that connecting with people one-on-one was sort of my jam, and I really liked it. And I loved seeing people find hope and work on themselves and look for recovery and improvement. And I wanted to be a part of that process.
That's really cool.
I think it's to share my main philosophy about mental health, which is that I think every single person is capable of some amount of improvement in whatever way they want to define improvement. And if I can just do that with one person, that feels successful to me. That feels like an achievement for me. And so it's not really about numbers of people reached for me. It's about the type of impact and support that I can give people.
That's a really admirable goal. What do you think would be definitions of like improvement for different people?
You know, for some it's improving skill sets. For some it's improving functionality in life, like how they do at work or how they do at school. For some, it's about answering some of those big existential questions like, what's my purpose in this world, right? For some, it's improving relationships. So there's all these different realms in life that people strive to improve in. And then some of the most basic ones are be happier, be more joyful, right?
Yeah. So you strive to help people like achieve their personal goals, maybe.
Correct. Watching or observing people notice their own improvement. Because it really doesn't matter if I notice improvement. If I tell them like, hey, you are going to school more often, or you're doing better in this, it doesn't matter. It's when they recognize like, and they can verbalize it, and then you can see it affect other areas of their life. That's absolutely beautiful. And then the other thing that's really beautiful that may have to do some with the art room, it's watching people build connections, whether it's with other people or if it's with different resources, getting connected with different resources. It's awesome. It's such a good feeling. I can't explain it.
It's like the sense of community.
And you're watching them grow to become that better person that you know they can be. So I think it's very nice to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I could maybe list a couple of things there. One is early on when you have those beautiful moments of watching people obtain some success in their goals. As part of their support system, it's easy to accidentally own a little bit of that success. But unfortunately what happens is when you own a little bit of that success, then you also own a little bit of that failure. And that can be really hard because truly we all want the best for others, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a good lesson to learn that you can't own too much of the success nor too much of the failure.
Was that sort of like a long process to realize and overcome that, or how did that go?
Yeah, it took working with a lot of different types of issues and people and having different experiences. It's nothing you can really read in a book.
Yeah.
Sure, there's actually a very common misunderstanding about art by itself having therapeutic value versus art therapy, which is a complete distinct different profession. And so I am not an art therapist, but I encourage and support my clients to use all forms of creativity and art as they work on themselves. So I think that's the biggest distinction, is that art therapists use art in sessions.
Yes.
Whereas I would encourage individuals to do art, and then we may talk about how they can get to that place so they can do art.
I see.
I think one distinction might be that sometimes art can be easier for people to use to express their emotions, whereas talk therapy, we're relying on words a lot. Right? And so sometimes for individuals that have some communication challenges, or they've had trauma to where their emotions are just not accessible, then art can come in really, really handy. And different kinds of art, visual art, music, even dance and movement.
Yeah, interesting. Because I think that art, because like if it's painting, then you don't have to really say what you're doing, so things like that. Yeah.
Sometimes I encourage them, especially if they're struggling with the written word or the spoken word, to use art as a journal. So instead of the traditional journaling about your feelings, do a doodle a day. To express a feeling that you're having, or whatever is on your mind. I sometimes encourage people to use art as a low-risk way to take risks and chances. That can also help with confidence building, trying new things, or even using it as a way to build community and relationships, either with their families or loved ones. I think it's changed it that I've always known it for myself. I've always known that art has been therapeutic for me, and a way to express my feelings, a way to cope, a way to be mindful and grounded. And it's been nice to see how common that can be for other people. And that I think as humans, most of us have that creative part in us, and that we can all sort of tap into it and benefit from it.
And I think one great thing about art is that you can do anything in it. Like, it's just not writing, it's just not painting. There's so much things to do, so I think that's like everyone has the opportunity to use the art as a part of a way to de-stress or something like that.
Yeah, something I hear often, especially in the art room, is, I'm just not artistic. Everyone has the creativity gene. It's just like any other skill, it has to be practiced and brought out and given room to breathe, right?
And I think one important thing that I really believe in is that you do not have to be good at something to enjoy it. Like you don't have to be like Picasso to enjoy painting or drawing. You can draw stick figures and still have fun, and I think that's like a
Lots
really
of fun.
Exactly.
I myself do a lot of art, and it took me a while to understand that art's not perfect. Like, it's the imperfection is the part that's so beautiful about art. Everyone has a different style. It doesn't need to look exactly like the picture does. So I think for a lot of people, they have like a hesitancy to like go into art because it's like, I need to be perfect, I need to be like Picasso, it needs to look amazing. So yeah.
You know, art throughout history has been a place where ideas and traditions can be challenged, right? Where perfection, the definition of perfection, can be challenged. And so I think that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
I think on the professional side especially, it's a misconception that any therapist can be an art therapist. And in order actually to be an art therapist, not only do you have to have a certain number of classes and training in mental health, but also in art.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a little bit, so you're pretty much getting 2 degrees.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a bit of a misconception, I would think. Yeah.
That like doing art means art therapy, but that's not true at all. It's actually like you have to do it in there. So does the art room provide art therapy?
No. So
No.
we go on the philosophy of art by itself can be therapeutic.
Okay.
Now we encourage people to do regular therapy, talk therapy. We encourage them to do art therapy. Art therapy because it's so unique, and there aren't, believe it or not, a lot of actual programs for it. There's none in Texas.
No.
So it's a little hard to come by.
Right.
You know, and that's why we wanted to sort of fill the gap a little bit, and also because art supplies are expensive.
Yeah.
So therapy can be expensive.
Yeah.
And so what a great space to provide access to art and a safe space where we specifically serve individuals that are working on their mental health. So we have just a little bit more understanding and can provide a bit more of a safer and more accepting environment for those individuals.
Was creating a safe space for the people who came into the art room like a very important factor of when you were thinking about the art room, or like was it just something that came along the way while you're like doing it?
It was really important because from the board's perspective, several of us on the board are mental health professionals. And so for us, that safe space concept is really, really important because that safe space is required for people to be able to take risks and try new things, right?
Yeah.
And test their own confidence. And so that was very, very important. And also, anytime you have a community organization that's open to a lot of people, you have to understand that lots of different people can come there, right? And so creating some boundaries and parameters to ensure that safety, not just physically, but emotionally, becomes even more important. Structure and order become a little bit more important. A little bit. I think the art room is a little bit more, can have a little bit less structure in some ways, right? For example, we don't police subject matters. People can work on whatever they want to work on, right? So those things are a little bit more open-minded. We do have some parameters about the topics of discussion, again, because we want to make sure it's a safe space. And so, we ask people not to talk about the specifics of their traumas, because you never know where the person next to you is in their journey. So we want to be careful with that.
Okay.
So some differences there.
Some differences.
So because we don't do art therapy at the art room, we have a couple of different types of classes. So we have some classes that are unstructured, where it's just a window of time. It's called Open Studio. People come in and they work on whatever they want to work on. We'll have volunteers there supporting them, but you'll have one person doing jewelry making, one person working on clay, another person painting acrylics. It's really cool, right? And then we have some more structured programs, such as Therapeutic Thursday or our Arts for Veterans program, where we actually have instructors one that has more of a mental health background and one that has more of an art background. And they present a topic for that class. And they talk a little bit about how that could be therapeutic or reflected on. But we're never asking people or forcing people to share their experience or do any kind of group processing of anything. So one example might be in one of our classes we were working on wire sculpting, and we related that to the idea of flexibility and how that's important in life. And so something like that, or sometimes one of our other classes we taught basket weaving, and that can be a very mindful act, right? So we try to hit on some different therapeutic values.
I think it's nice that the art room has like multiple like options for open studios, and there's like different options for different people, so that, you know, if you want to try new things, it's like, you know.
Yeah. And some people like structure and some don't, so they have some option there.
Yeah.
And is it usually like a group class, or do you have individual, like one-on-one sessions? Or?
It's mostly group.
Mostly.
In one or two very specific cases, we made some exceptions, and those individuals had some physical, they needed some physical accommodations that was not helpful, or that was not conducive to group setting. And so on a limited basis, we provided some opportunities for some individual sessions.
Interesting.
Yeah. The first thing is expect that a lot of your schooling will be about internal self-reflection. And that is a very, very important part. Because you have to really know yourself and your own biases and what your own philosophy is before you try to help others. And part of that is because you have to set some of those things aside to be able to support someone else. Right? So that's one thing that I think would be helpful to know.
I never really thought about that. Like when I thought about, you know, licensed practitioners or stuff, I was like, the year long, how many years does it take for them to get there, and like how to help people. No one's really told me about how you need to reflect on yourself.
Most of my graduate program was a lot of self-reflection and then a little bit learning of theory. But most of what you learn about actually counseling, you get in your internship and in your practicum. Yeah, I was in grad school and I was like, so when am I going to learn how to like talk to people? And it just never came. And I was like, oh God. But the internship is very important and a really, really rich process. And to that, I would say, take your internship really seriously.
Yeah.
It's where you actually learn a lot of things.
So make the most of, like, you know, the practical experience and reflecting inward.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
And I do have a question. As a licensed practitioner, a lot of people come to us to like have all the world's knowledge and should be like, automatically you should be able to help me with my problems. So as a licensed practitioner, like knowing that, do you like sometimes feel like I need to know everything, or is it like okay, it's fine, it's like I'm learning with them and all that?
Yeah, I think another maybe philosophy that's helpful to, or approach that's helpful to adopt, is to understand that the person sitting in front of you will always know themselves better than you will ever get to know them, right? And that they are an expert in their own life. And all you're trying to do is to learn enough about them and what their beliefs and their values are to help them find the best tools to use their expertise. And in saying that, I never feel like I have all the answers. I have some routes on how to get to the answers, but they've got the answers.
Yeah. I love the way you phrase that. Everyone's an expert in their own life. Oh my god.
They really are.
Yeah.
Even our most loved ones, right? Our parents or our partners, they're still always going to know themselves.
Yeah.
We're not going to know them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Miss Flory. We learned a lot from you, from your answers and things like that. We really appreciate you coming out here today to talk with us.
Thank you. I really appreciate y'all. I really appreciate your you're picking our organization to support and highlight. And I'm also so delighted that individuals like y'all are going to kind of carry the torch into the next generation. So thank you.
That's so sweet.